Dance on Broadway is a career goal for many young people, and this dream actually came true for my next guest. And now she has based a series of books on her show business experiences. Let's meet Chrissy Fournier. Chrissy, nice to see you again.
Hi, Lynn. Good to see you.
Well, Chrissy, let's start one thing. All your books, and this is your fifth book.
Fifth one.
That just came out.
And yes, it did.
So, got the word gypsy in it.
Oh, I know.
And a lot of people don't understand what that means. So, go ahead, tell us.
Okay. We think of gypsies as those folks who lived out harsh winters over in Europe and had wagons and they'd cross the countryside and try to build their little fires and survive. But the gypsy that I'm talking about is a beloved term in show business for the performer who goes from show to show, because once you finish a job, you have to go and look for another. So that's where gypsy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you actually did dance on Broadway.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
In what is known as the golden age of musical theater in the late 50s, early 60s. It was magic time. We had incredible shows at that time. We had Hello, Dolly and Fiddler on the Roof and Man of La Mancha and Mame and Sweet Charity, of which I was a part. And they were just amazing shows written by amazing people, great composers, great lyricists, book writers, that we call the libretto writers, producers. It was a phenomenal time to be in New York and to be able to work on the Broadway stage.
Yeah, and those shows you mentioned, they're still the ones we all know and love.
Yes,
and yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Constant revivals of them, so I guess
Yeah,
that's a
yes,
testament to that.
Definitely. Now, and you were a dancer there. What gave you that edge? I mean, you made it. You got to Broadway, and most people don't.
It's interesting. There was a line in a chorus line about a girl who said, you know, I used to stand outside that stage door and wish someday to be that dancer who came out the door. And I think that's every girl's dream who's ever studied dance or wants to be a performer, is that possible? And the odds are really great. You have to really want it. There's a lot of sacrifice. You have to go to auditions. You have to pass muster by getting a job first. And then to work on Broadway, you have to be a union card holder. So in order to work, you have to have that card. But in order to get the card, you have to get hired to do the job. So it's for Sweet Charity, there were about 400 young ladies who auditioned, and 7 of us got spots.
Oh, my goodness.
And that was the odds back in 1965. I can't imagine today. It's got to be triple those numbers.
Yeah. So, well, wonderful. So you had these experiences. Now, the book series that you wrote, kind of loosely based on?
Yes. Each book covers a portion of my career. The first one started out with my first tour, which is my first big professional job. The second was about formation of an original Broadway show, which I did with Sweet Charity, but it's not Sweet Charity, it's a fictionalized show.
Sure.
The third takes place in Japan because I had the gift of being hired to perform in West Side Story in Japan in 1964. So to have that experience and enjoy the cultural differences. And American performing artists were revered. Musical theater, musical comedy was a big thing in Japan, and they wanted to emulate our style of theater. The fourth book takes place, again, another tour that I finished of the Broadway show, How to Succeed in Business, on the West Coast. So I wrote of that. And then this book, actually 2 of my main characters return to the Twin Cities. And that starts a whole chain because I was the original choreographer at Chanhassen Dinner Theater. So now I'm going to fictionalize, but it's going to be about that time frame.
Okay.
And so that'll be there's a whole new fodder of things to draw from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of loosely based then.
Yes. I mean, it's
your
about
adventures.
And the people are really authentic in terms of the kind of people you work with. There's such a range of talent there. And so each character in my book is really based on someone I knew or composite of someone I knew. So they're very authentic, and when people start reading the series, they become very invested in these characters because they come to know them, because they travel through each book. Some of them recede and go away. We have a couple villains we threw in for fun, and they went away, and then new people pop up. A couple of the characters have babies, and so that starts a whole new generation. So this thing could go on forever, or almost.
Well, when you started writing, did you did you have a plan and say, I want to do this many books, or did you just start with one and it just
It was
snowballed?
such an accident. I had written a memoir of my mother's journey with Alzheimer's. It was my first, it was a nonfiction.
Yes.
And a few years went by, and I found a route sheet that's actually given to the performers before an engagement that has this, if it's a tour, the cities, venues, and the dates. And I found an old one of that first tour, and I was going through it, and I took out a line pad and I started writing down the cities, and all of a sudden the memories started popping up, and I went, oh my goodness, this would make a great book. So that's how it wasn't intentional, it just sort of happened.
Oh.
So then it just kind of evolved and really became a thing.
So what is your writing style? Is it like every day you go and write some, or?
No, not
do you
always.
do?
It's a funny thing. I'm also a teacher. I teach at Lundstrom Performing Arts, and so I have a curriculum I teach fall and winter, and so that takes up some time, and I plan my classes and so on. Teaching musical theater to these young
Okay,
people in
okay.
town. But sometimes I get on a roll and I'll actually write a whole day for maybe 4 or 5 hours, and then other days I may skip and just write a paragraph. It just depends on the mood I'm in or what comes up for me. Then sometimes if I haven't written for a while, the hunger there just to jump in and get going. So, and I work from an outline. I start with an outline so that I don't get too far afield with it, but it just sort of flows, and it's one of those mystery things. I have no idea where it comes from. It just all of a sudden came to me later in life, and I really am so grateful for it. It's been a real
Do you
gift.
get ideas like middle of the night? And just have,
I have. Or when I walk in Silverwood Park,
oh, yes.
and I'll be walking by the lake, and all of a sudden I'll start plotting. I'll start thinking, well, today, let me see, what do I want to happen today? And then all of a sudden I'll be talking out loud, and I'll be walking before I know it, the mile and a half is over, and I've come up with some new ideas. So they just sort of pop in.
Okay.
And
so if people see you there, you're just fine.
I'm
You're just-
okay.
just
I'm okay.
writing
I'm just
out loud.
creating.
Yeah.
Just creating.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a joy, and it's constantly keeping me engaged. And I think it's really important, especially as we get older, to find something to get up and feel passionate about. And I feel so passionate about this process of the theater and what I was able to do. And now I'm able to pass on. So that's the other gift, is that paying it forward to these young people who are our future. Once we're gone, they have to carry on this work.
Yeah.
So it's kind of long and kind of far-reaching, I think. Which is great.
And are you still involved with choreography?
Yes, this past summer I actually directed Sandy Wilson's The Boyfriend for Lundstrom Center's musical theater camp, and I had 32 young people. Normally the show has 16 cast members, and I had 32 given me, so I had to fit them in. It was kind of like a Cecil B. DeMille production, how these are all going to come out. We called them the Swarm, lovingly, but it was a wonderful, wonderful production. We were all very pleased. So it's a wonderful ride, truly is.
Well, we will look forward next year then to
Oh,
the sixth book
absolutely.
in this
Number
series.
6, which incidentally is Gypsy Dreams,
Okay.
The Payoff. And it's
Okay.
all about these two characters' life in Minnesota, carrying on in theater.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Great to be here.